Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the 24 books that I read from October to January. It's been a while and I wanted to do just one video talking about all of the books just to catch you guys up so that way I could go ahead and do a video for February. So I'm going to try to be soft-spoken and hopefully I can relax you a little bit. So, let's get started. If you see me looking like away from you, I have my laptop right here and it's 24 books, you guys. I don't remember half of these. I don't remember every single thing, so I needed to have notes for this whole thing. I did read two series. So I'm just going to talk about them all at once instead of talking about them in the order that I read them because it would be a lot of back and forth. So let's get started. So the first series that I read, I started it before October, but I finished the rest of the series from October through December. And so that series was A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. And I did read the first book. Again, I read that one before October, and then I had read the second book, and then so on and so forth. So I did finish the series. I would say that overall, the series was about a 3.5 star for me. I did really enjoy the first two books, probably the most. And there were some frustrating parts of the series that never got better, but I think for me, I just really didn't like Nessa. I say that because I personally don't like how everybody catered to her mistreating everybody. So I guess I could see why other people might like her. I know there's a number of people online that say, oh, like, she's my favorite character and this and that, and I'm like, can't relate. So, yeah, I'm turning 28 in 2 days, and I think I'm just at a point where when I see somebody who's a very hurtful person, I just, it's hard for me to feel bad for them. I've overcome a lot in my life personally, and so it's hard for me to feel bad for someone that treats others like they're a punching bag constantly. So I just think that once you're an adult, there's no excuse for treating others like they are trash because of your own problems. So not to get deep there, but I feel very strongly about that. And if you have someone in your life like that, I get it. I get if it's your sister or your brother or your uncle or your aunt or your mom and you're like, I don't want to give up on them. I love them. I get that. My mom, the relationship with my mom is very similar, and I think that's why I didn't like her so much, because it really hit home for me. And I had to learn that I needed to set boundaries and I needed to do what was best for my mental health. And that you can't really force somebody to heal or grow or change. So I guess I just wanted to mention that for anybody out there that just needed to hear that. So anyway, I didn't like the last book. I hated the last book. I really didn't like it. I think I rated it a 2-star, and I liked how it finished off the series. And the only reason I really kept reading it, because I really was having a struggle with reading it, but the reason I finished it was because I liked the series enough to want to finish it, but I just did not like Nessa whatsoever. And yeah, I think that kind of sums that up. I might not be talking about what all the books are about in this video, because I think that would make this because I think that would make this video really long, so I do apologize. I will do my best, but I think most people know about this series enough to just say 3 stars, 3.5 stars. It was good. I'd recommend it to others, but yeah, I mean, that's it. It was good. I do want to mention that I listened to a lot of audiobooks in this section, so I have here what I read physically, but majority of the books were audiobooks, so I will just put them on the screen and talk about them. But the next book I read was Only the Good Die Young by Julie Mulhern. This was a novella. It was pretty short, and I rated this book 3 stars. Yeah, 3 stars. It was good. It was very entertaining. Nothing crazy, but it was good, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. So let me just, maybe it's best that I move my laptop. Hold on. It was a quick and easy read about an elderly woman named Frances that discovers a dead body. She tries to hide that she did because her daughter had found bodies, and it was something, it was like somewhat a habit that she like kind of like was like, oh, my daughter, she's got this bad habit of finding dead bodies. So she scolded her daughter for it, and so she hides the fact that she also happened to find a dead body, and she gets involved with finding out who the killer was by trying to keep what she knew a secret. And it's pretty good. I think it was great. Again, it was entertaining. It was good. Nothing like extravagant or amazing, but it was a cute little entertaining read. The next book, and by the way, this is still in October, so the next book I read in October was The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I rated this book 3.5 stars. It was good. It was entertaining. I didn't love it. I think I'm starting to learn that I don't love Grady Hendrix's writing, but I don't hate it. I find there are things that I'm like, ugh. So this was a supernatural thriller based in the 90s in the South. It follows Patricia Campbell, who has spent her life being a stay-at-home mom and is a part of a book club, and that's something that she like looks forward to. And she ends up befriending a newcomer to the neighborhood, and things go from there. And this was creepy. It was funny. It was frustrating. Like, I felt like I was feeling all the emotions reading this book. But overall, I think the things I didn't like was the main character was super clueless and naive. It did make sense for her character, though. Like, it made sense. But it was hard to get through because I was like, woman, oh my god. But it's kind of typical of like a horror movie, if that makes sense. Like, for a horror book, it makes sense that would be kind of the trend. But overall, it was very entertaining and it was good. I would definitely recommend it. And it was good for spooky season. Okay, the next book I read was Lights Out by Navessa Allen. This was a book club read. I rated this book 2.5 stars. I think this book is considered a dark romance, and I definitely could see the dark romance part, and I liked like the first half of the book, but it was the second half that lost me. Like, it became a different book halfway through, and I hated that. Like, I was like, you could have just ended the book short and it would have been great. It would have been like perfect. So it follows Allie, who is a trauma nurse. She develops a mask kink and watches people on TikTok who make these teasing masked men videos. And this started out spicy, kinky, funny, but then halfway through, like I mentioned, the plot changes and it turns into like a mafia murder book. So I lost interest in that, and I wanted to kind of see more of like the beginning. I wanted to see more of like her being a trauma nurse, and yeah, I don't know. I thought it was good at first, but like I said, it could have just finished with, she could have focused more on the beginning of the book and made that more elaborate, and then finished the book with that plot. Yeah. Okay, next I read Dune by Frank Herbert. Dune. I love the Dune movies, so I had to read the book. My boyfriend has read all the books, and so he was like, you love the movie, read the books. I did listen to the book, which I think is probably why I didn't enjoy it as much as I could have. I did still rate it a 4-star. Like, it was really good. It was very, I got so much more from the book than the movie, which I think is kind of common for books, but it was hard for me to like stay focused. Like, I had to like rewind the audiobook a lot because I would like start thinking about other things, and so it took me a while to get through it, but it was great. It tells the story of Paul Atreides, who is the heir of the family and tasked to rule the desert planet Arrakis. It follows his journey from losing his father, trying to survive the desert, fighting his way towards his destiny that he has visions about. It was a great book, very entertaining, and it was a little bit harder to read, but it was still really good. Okay, next I read Say You'll Be Mine by Naina Kumar. This was a 4-star read for me. This was such a cute rom-com book. Like, I think it was executed so well, and I loved it. I thought it was perfect. So this is about a woman named Meghna, whose parents want her to be an engineer and her to marry a good man. It's an adult contemporary Indian-based culture romance, meaning the parents of Meghna and Karthik, the male interest, set them up in dates to see if they can meet someone they want to marry. And Meghna gets stuck in a bind because she says to her best friend, who is also her crush, that she will be his best man to his wedding. So now she's like, well, I need to have a date. So she's determined to move on, and she agrees to go on a date with her parents that her parents arrange. On the other hand, Karthik isn't interested in marrying at all, and he agrees to continually go on like arranged dates that his mom sets up because he wants to make her happy. And then out of both of their interests, they agree to fake engage to make Karthik's parents happy and to make Meghna have Meghna have somebody for the wedding. So evidently they become friends, which I love. I love how they became friends first. Like, it wasn't like it just was like lust or like it just fell into romance. It was like they genuinely became friends, started caring for each other, and then they obviously fell for each other. And even with their flaws, they learned to accept each other. And I thought it was super cute. It was believable and it was sweet. And the ending was a really great way to end. So definitely recommend that one. I think I also want to reread that one like next February or something. It was really cute. Like, I loved it. Okay, so now we get into my first physical book besides the Sarah J Maas ones. So I read Verity by Colleen Hoover, and this follows the main character Lowen, who is a broke writer who is provided an opportunity to finish writing a series for a popular author by the name of Verity. Verity's husband hires Lowen, along with the publishing company, of course, due to Verity's inability to complete the series. So Verity is at home with Jeremy, and they do have a child together. So it's like the three of them, and she's being taken care of by like a home nurse. And Lowen goes and stays with them to go through her office and, you know, like take her notes and determine what she's gonna do to write the following book. And I think it was really entertaining. I didn't guess the plot twists. I guessed some of them, but not all of them, if that makes sense. So I did guess initially like the beginning portions, and I didn't guess the end twist, like the big one at the end. So it's definitely really entertaining. It was a depiction of morally great characters with the plot twist. It was like a romance thriller, and yeah, I thought it was really entertaining. I rated this a 3.5. Okay, the last book that I read in October was Blood-Sucking Fiends by Christopher Moore. As you can see, I have a bookmark in there because I sobbed after this book. I did not finish this book. I got about almost halfway through. Now, it was nothing bad with this book. I do plan on finishing it. I just stopped being in the mood for it. So, yeah. Like, it was towards the end of October. I was like, over spooky season, I wanted to get into romance. So, I unfortunately will have to finish this book at a different time, but I love this author. I grew up reading this author's books, so it's very, I don't know, it's very nostalgic for me to read his books and his writing. And I personally love his writing. He's very humorous for what he writes. The book follows Jodie, who finds herself turned into a vampire after a random attack when she's walking home. She ends up meeting C. Thomas Flood, where they arrange a friendship/friends with benefits thing. Tommy recently moved into the city and he works nights at the local grocery store. She needs him to do things during the day and he needs a woman, so it's kind of like a little arrangement that they have going on. It was funny and quirky, and I just kind of fell out of the mood for it, but I do want to see how it ends, so I will keep you updated. So now for the books in November. The first book I read was The Full Moon Coffee Shop by Mei Mokezuki. This was a book translated from Japanese, and I listened to it on Audible, or on Libby, but it was an Audible book. Yeah, I don't know why I made it up weird. I rated this book a 4-star. I loved it. I thought it was so meaningful. It was a fantasy magical realism novel about a coffee shop that only appears during a full moon. It has no fixed location of hours, and it's ran by talking cats. The book follows numerous characters that venture into the coffee shop at crucial times in their lives, and the cats consult them on their birth charts and provide cryptic wisdom. If you don't like zodiacs, you won't like this book. But I love it, so I thought it was super fun, and I loved it. I thought it was impactful and cute, and I love how all the characters had something to do with each other, and it all like makes sense at the end, if that makes sense. So it was cute. Okay, the next book that I listened to, and I listened to this book and I loved it so much that I bought it because I was like, this has to be in my future library one day. Like, I love this book. This is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. I just want to say, this is a debut novel, and I am like, oh my god, like, how amazing for your debut novel to be such a good book. Like, I love this book. I rated it 5 stars. It was my first 5-star read in a while, to be honest. Like, a true 5-star. Like, I think about it every day, and I recommend it to people. I love this book. It's so good. So, well, let me tell you about it. So this book follows 2 different people. Hold on, let me fix my situation over here. Okay. This book follows 2 different people. First is Tova Sullivan, who's an older woman whose husband has died and who lost her son at 18 years old 30 years ago. So it happened a while ago, but he died at 18 years old. And she keeps busy working nights at the aquarium as a cleaning lady, mopping the floors, cleaning the glass in the tanks, etc. She befriends the aquarium's giant octopus named Marcellus, who is a bit of a mischievous guy that likes to get out of his tank for snacking and rummaging the aquarium at late hours. So I guess technically it's about 3 characters because it's about him too. The other character is Cameron, who is a middle-aged man struggling. Forgive my words, but he's a loser. He was broken up with by his girlfriend for losing yet another job. In result, he goes back to where his mom's, who left him when he was young, hometown, to see if he can find his real father. So he's very lost, if that makes sense. He's lost. He needs guidance. He's hoping for money and a father that discovers he's found his long lost son and takes care of him with money, etc. He picks up shifts at the aquarium, filling in for Tova, because Tova gets into an accident situation, like she gets injured, and so she can't work, and so he fills in the position working at the aquarium. And Tova just can't let go of the aquarium, so she goes there when she's not supposed to, and they run into each other and they meet. And they become friends. She teaches him the ways of cleaning properly, etc. She kind of takes him under his wing. He also meets another girl there and starts to kind of have a life. He starts to be happy. So meanwhile, the relationship between Tova and Marcellus grows, and he learns something about Tova that he attempts to tell her before it's too late. This book was truly the most impactful book of the year, my favorite book of 2024. It tells about what truly being alone is, what having someone in your life means. It's a story of fate and love and how that transcends through different species. So I will just leave it at that. It was a phenomenal book. I want to cry. So good. Okay, the next book, and this was another book club read, was Fantasma. I love this cover. It's so dark and gothic. I love it. This is by Kaylee Smith. And it follows Ophelia, who finds herself in the Fantasma Manor, going through various life-threatening trials in an attempt to win Fantasma and find her sister, who she followed into Fantasma. She makes a bargain with a phantom named Blackwell that she mysteriously met outside of the manor. He promises to help her through the trials if she can find the key and heart to free him from Fantasma. She discovers truths and the dangers of what happens if you fall in love in Fantasma. Overall, the trials were very entertaining, I thought. I liked the spooky aspect of the plot, and the romance was cute. The only things I didn't really like were sometimes Ophelia was kind of annoying at times. It's known that she's not aware, or she's never had a romantic relationship, but then she goes into Fantasma and all of a sudden she's kind of throwing herself. I guess she made a decision at one point with a devil that I think was very out of character for her, is what I'm trying to get to, and I just didn't like that part. I also didn't love the ending. It kind of felt too good to be true. It wasn't a well done ending. It was very rushed, and so I think that could have been a lot better. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it, so I rated this one a 2.75, and then I think on Goodreads I rounded it up to 3, but 2.75 was my rating for sure. It was definitely entertaining though, so if you guys are into kind of more of a darker type romance, I think people would enjoy this book. I personally was just kind of I don't know, not my favorite. The next book that I listened to is called Daughter of the Resistance by Gausia Nealon. I rated this book a 5-star read. It wasn't super, it wasn't Remarkably by Creatures 5-star, but it was 5-star in the sense that it was a really good book. It's a historical fiction, so it's definitely one that I think I would probably have my kids read one day, or I would share with others, and it was very impactful. So this book is a World War II historical fiction. It's heartbreaking and utterly captivating. It is set in Poland, 1944, when the war is raging across Europe. There's definitely violence, and I would say just check your trigger warnings, I guess, for this one, just in case you have something that might be triggering for you. The main heroine, Julia, I think it's Julia is how it's pronounced in the book, is sent to Warsaw by her high-ranking Polish officer father. When he goes missing, Julia returns to Warsaw to look for her father and fight for the resistance. Or I'm sorry, she's sent away from Warsaw, and then she goes back to Warsaw later, because he goes missing, and her friend is captured, Natalia, and so she's like on a mission to find her father and find her best friend Natalia. When she finds herself captured, she runs into her childhood sweetheart, Nikolai, in a Nazi uniform. He convinces her that he is with the resistance and is working as a spy on the inside. So she kind of believes him at first. She stays with him in the barracks, and then she finds her friend dead, the one that went missing. So that freaks her out, and then she overhears the cooks in the kitchen talking about Nikolai and saying how he has really violent tendencies. So kind of out of a panic, she flees and she goes back to where she was with the resistance. And then the other character that is followed in this book is Alec. He's the leader of the resistance in Poland, and he wants to protect as many people as possible. He organizes the group to flee the Nazis by underground tunnels, and he has history with Julia because he kind of bullied her in high school. But as they work together to survive, and she helps him with his wounds in the tunnels, they slowly start to care for each other. And so the story follows all three of the characters in their perspectives and highlights the evil nature of the Nazis. There's so much that happens in this book that I don't want to give too much away, but the book portrays like bravery and strength and courage and everything that the Polish people had to overcome to achieve freedom despite severe losses and sacrifices. So it was just really impactful, and it was really good. So that was everything I read in November. Now in December, I started the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare. So this follows Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, and Clockwork Princess. So I read all three books in December and January. And then I bought the series afterwards because I did listen to them. And I will say, the audiobooks are so good. They're so good. But I got the complete collection. And I will say kind of an overview of what they're about. So the books follow Tessa Gray in the late 1800s as she finds herself enveloped in the world of a dark supernatural underworld. She's following a letter sent by her missing brother. So she's originally in New York, and then she gets a letter from her missing brother that went to London. So she goes to London, and when she's there, she gets like captured, and she ends up being saved by demon slaying shadow hunters, and she ends up like in this world of shadow hunters, and it includes Will and Jem. They find themselves up against the Pandemonium Club, which is a secret organization of vampires, demons, warlocks, and humans. And Pandemonium Club is equipped with creating an army of unstoppable clockwork creatures with the sole purpose of destroying the shadow hunters and capturing Tessa. And Tessa has a gift. She can do something that they are wanting her for. And she starts to train with the shadow hunters and fight. She fights to survive and uncover truth about her origin, all while falling in love with both Will and Jem. I will say this series executes really well a love triangle where you truly love both like, you love everybody involved. I loved both Will and Jem so much, and I think these books were executed so well. Like, the story, the plots, the romance was so beautiful throughout the books, and it wasn't like this, like, it wasn't like a super smutty book, but that's kind of why I liked it, because I felt like it was more real and romantic, and I really appreciated that. And the plots are just really, really good. The last book had me crying, you guys. It was so good. It was such a great ending to the trilogy. So I rated all of the books. I think the average is like 4.75, and so it's a really good series rating for me, in my opinion. But I'm starting soon. I'm going to start the series that is after this. I think it's the Mortal Devices, but this was actually a prequel to an existing series, so that's the series I'm going to start next on this one. I hope I did a good review on that, because these are, like, this series was legitimately my favorite. Like, I'm considering it my favorite of 2025, even though I started it in 2024. I finished it in 2025, and it was the best series. I really, really enjoy Cassandra's writing. So next, I read I Dreamed of Falling by Julia Dahl. This is a standalone about the death of a young mother that triggers an avalanche of secrets in a small Hudson Valley town. Definitely read the trigger warnings on this book. The writing wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't terrible. I found the story really sad, but overall good. So I rated this book a 3-star. 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 So to summarize, Roman Grady is a sole reporter for the local newspaper in a tiny Hudson Valley town. A town so small that every store opening and DUI is considered newsworthy. But when Roman's longtime girlfriend Ashley, the mother of his 4-year-old son, is found dead, he realizes he had no idea what was really going on in her life. And when he starts asking questions, he's not prepared for the answers. What was Ashley doing at the cliffside home of her troubled ex-girlfriend? How did no one in a house full of people see what happened to her? And why does it seem like everyone in town suddenly has something to hide? As Roman and his mother dig into Ashley's last few months, the truths that they uncover threaten to expose painful secrets. The kind of secrets that can get you killed. So, yeah, that was really good. It was like kind of like a murder mystery. So if you like that, you probably will like that book. But it was really sad. And I will say that, like, heads up, if you are in the mood for a sad book, you could read that. But it was good. Just not my favorite, not anything crazy. Okay, so that was all for December. And in January, I started off with The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore. Now, I know this wasn't fitting, like, in January. It's more like a fall book, but it was on my list to read, and I was like, oh, like, I'll just read it. It's fine. I thought it was cute. It was cozy. It was all vibes. It was like a happy sunshine and grumpy guy kind of trope. I found Jeannie kind of annoying, but she did grow on me over time. I don't think it was spicy at all, so I think there was some wording about it being like a spicy romance, like on Goodreads or something, and I thought that was really misleading, because it's not spicy, like, at all, really. Like, it's like barely spicy, and yeah, so I thought that was kind of weird. It's more just like cozy vibes. Logan was okay. He was the male character, but honestly, Logan needs therapy, and yeah. So there was also like insta-lust, I feel like, which was pretty annoying, especially because I think that's why they're considering this book spicy. But the plot felt rushed, and overall the story was just cutesy, but nothing that I took serious or felt like anything like serious about. So I rated this a 3-star. I will give you a little summary though, because I didn't tell you like really what it's about. So When Ginny's aunt gifts her the beloved pumpkin spice cafe in the small town of Dream Harbor, Ginny jumps at the chance for a fresh start away from her very dull desk job. Logan is a local farmer who avoids Dream Harbor's gossip at all costs, but Ginny's arrival disrupts Logan's routine, and he wants nothing to do with the irritatingly upbeat new girl, except that he finds himself inexplicably drawn to her. Will Ginny's happy-go-lucky attitude win over the grumpy but gorgeous Logan? Or has the city girl found the one person in town who won't fall for her charm, or her pumpkin spice lattes? So, it was cute. I'll probably read it, like, next fall for, like, the vibes, but it wasn't, like, I won't really be like, oh, yeah, I'm into a romance book, I'll read this one. Like, it'll be more for, like, oh, it's fall, I'm gonna read this book because it's, like, fall vibes, you know? The next book I read is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. So this was the second book I've ever read by Grady Hendrix, and I think this is kind of where my opinion for their writing solidified for me. I rated this book a 3.5 stars. I thought it was very entertaining. It was a good like horror story, but I didn't love it. I found the writing okay. I didn't really like his writing, but it was more so like the pace of the plot was so slow at the beginning that I felt like I just was like, can I just end it here? Like, can I DNF it? But then I was like, well, what happens next? And so I kept reading it, and it did get better over time, but I feel like it took so long to get to that point. So, some notes that I took was I hated Mark for most of the book, and I found him insufferable. Now, I do have a sibling, so I was like, this is siblings all the way, but it was really frustrating to read. The story felt really dragged out. I lost interest a couple of times, as I mentioned, but I liked how the relationship developed over time, and I think the secrets coming out was a really good twist. There were like a lot of twists and turns in this book that made it pretty entertaining. So I will give you the summary. When Louise finds out her parents have died, she dreads going home. She doesn't want to leave her daughter with her ex and fly to Charleston. She doesn't want to deal with her family home, stuffed to the rafters with the remnants of the father's academic career and her mother's lifelong obsession with puppets and dolls. She doesn't want to learn how to live without the two people who knew and loved her best in the world. Most of all, she doesn't want to deal with her brother, Mark, who never left their hometown, gets fired from one job or another, and resents her success. Unfortunately, she'll need his help to get the house ready for sale, because it'll take more than just some new paint on the walls, clearing out a lifetime of memories to get this place on the market. I do want to add, I thought it was really odd how Louise dealt with telling her daughter that she lost her grandparents. I feel like that part was like red flag for me. Like, she just flat out told this little girl that she lost her grandparents, and like, she's not dealing with it well. This poor little girl is not dealing with it well. And then she leaves her baby to go deal with like the funeral and everything, and I'm like, oh my god, like as a mom, I could never do that to my baby. So I just thought that was like a red flag. Like, I didn't like that part of the plot, but putting that aside, it was a good story. The next book I read was Throne of the Fallen. I got this special edition copy from Barnes & Noble. It's got sprayed edges. This is by Carrie Maniscalco, and it is number 1 of Prince of Sin series. I haven't read anything else in this series. I didn't know it was part of a series, but I'm part of like 3 different book clubs, you guys, but this was a book club pick that I hadn't read it during the book club month, but I saw it was on the list of like a book to read, and so I kind of got to it when I got to it, and I really liked it. I thought it was good. So I rated this a 4.75. It was up there, you guys. Like, this was a very smutty book. It was Definitely like a guilty pleasure kind of read, if that makes sense. So if I I want to like read a really smutty romance, I'll definitely pick that up again. Like I'm willing to reread it. It was really good. I really liked the romance between Envy and Camilla. It was definitely more physical than emotional, but it was still really good, and it like drew out, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't immediate, it like drew out over time. I loved Envy. I feel like he's everything. And there was lots of twists and turns in this plot that made it really enjoyable. And some of the things that Envy said really just had my heart. He was really cute. But I will read you the summary. The Prince of Envy has never claimed to be a saint, but when a cryptic note arrives signaling the beginning of a deadly game, he knows it will take more than a hint of sin to win and save his fallen demon court. Riddles, hexed objects, anonymous players, nothing will stand in his way, though none of his meticulous plans prepare him for her, the frustrating artist who ignites his sin like no other. The trouble with scoundrels and blackguards is that they haven't had a modicum of honor, a fact Miss Camilla Antonis learns after one desperate mistake allows Waverly Green's most notorious rake to blackmail her. To avoid a ruinous scandal, Camilla is forced to enter a devil's bargain with Envy, little expecting his game to awaken her true nature. Together, Envy and Camilla must embark on a perilous journey through the underworld, from glittering demon courts to the sultry vampire realm and beyond, while trying to avoid the most dangerous trap of all, falling in love. It was definitely good. I liked it. I am curious to know someone else's thoughts on that book, but I liked it. It was good. The next book I read, I did finish it's a duology. I did finish the second book of this month, so I won't talk about the whole series until my February wrap-up, but I will tell you about the first book. So I read One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. I rated this book a 3.75. It was definitely entertaining. Thought it was good, but nothing great or anything. I did really enjoy the different magic system. I thought it was really unique, and I loved the vibes. I think the vibes were really cool and dark and like spooky, like gothic. The story was captivating, and it really had me binging the book, which is like awesome. I love that. The romance with Elspeth and Raven wasn't really my favorite, but it was cute. It was cute, but like nothing like I was like, oh, this is so like good and romantic. It was like I mostly like the books of the plot of Elspeth and her relationship with the nightmare a lot more than Raven. But the way the book ended was like, I was like, I have to read the other book. Like, it was a really good way to set up the scene for the second book, I will say. So definitely really cool with that. But I will read you the summary. Elspeth needs a monster. The monster might be her. Elspeth Spindle needs more than luck to stay safe in the eerie, mist-locked kingdom of Blunder. She needs a monster. She calls him the Nightmare, an ancient, merciful spirit trapped in her head. He protects her, he keeps her secrets, but nothing comes for free, especially magic. When Elspeth meets a mysterious highwayman on the forest road, her life takes a drastic turn. Thrust into a world for shadow and deception, she joins a dangerous quest to cure Blunder from the dark magic infecting it. And the highwayman? He just so happens to be the king's nephew, captain of the most dangerous men in Blunder, and guilty of high treason. Together they must gather 12 Providence cards, the keys to the cure. But as the stakes heighten and their undeniable attraction intensifies, Elspeth is forced to face her darkest secret yet. The nightmare is slowly taking over her mind, and she might not be able to stop him. Oh my gosh. It was great. It's definitely a good book. And I can't wait to tell you guys about the second one. Okay, the last book that I read in January was a book club read, and this was From Blood and Ash From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is actually a series. It's the first book of a series called Blood and Ash. And I loved this book, you guys. I rated this a 4.5 stars. I was so encaptured by this book. And I could see why some people might not like it. Like, I could see that. Like, some people that some book people that, I watch the reviews, I could see them being like, oh, I don't like this book. But I loved it. I thought it was really good. So, the way that this book sets up for the rest of the series, I think, is really good. It ends on a kind of a cliffhanger situation where you're like, what? What do you mean? And so I jumped into the second book. I only listened to half of it so far because I'm on Libby and having to wait for the other part. So I'm still on the waiting list, but super, super good. I found it really spicy and captivating. I did guess the twists, but it still came at a shock, and the twist was more twisted than I thought, if that makes sense. So super good. The only reason that I didn't give it a 5-star was just because the story is about a maiden, so obviously she's a virgin, and the male character, his name is Hawk. I didn't really like how he courted her at first. It kind of seemed like he was trying to sabotage her and didn't respect that she was the maiden. But she did give him consent, I will say. It's nothing like that. And he grew on me over time. But I didn't love it at first. I was like, what is going on? What? And then at the very end, it all made so much sense. And you're like, oh my god. And it was good. So I will tell you the summary. A maiden chosen from birth to usher in a new era. Poppy's life has never been her own. The life of the maiden is solitary, never to be touched, never to be looked upon, never to be spoken to, never to experience pleasure. Waiting for the day of her ascension, she would rather be the guards, fighting back the evil that took her family, than preparing to be found worthy by the gods. But the choice has never been hers. A duty. The entire kingdom's future rests on Poppy's shoulders, something she's not even quite sure she wants to be herself. She wants for herself, because the maiden has a heart and a soul and longing. And when Hawk, a golden-eyed guard, honor-bound to ensure her ascension, enters her life, destiny and duty become tangled with desire and need. He incites her anger, makes her question everything she believes in, and tempts her with the forbidden. You see what I mean? He tempts her. I'm like, a kingdom forsaken by the gods and feared by mortals, a fallen kingdom is rising once more, determined to take back what they believe is theirs through violence and vengeance. And as the shadow of those cursed draws closer, the line between what is forbidden and what is right becomes blurred. Poppy is not only on the verge of losing her heart and being found unworthy by the gods, but also her life, when every blood-soaked thread that holds her world together begins to unravel. So it was good, you guys. Please read it and let me know. I need book besties, so yeah. Thank you guys so much for sticking around for this video. I'm sure it's very long, but thank you for your patience and for checking back on my channel. I know it's been a while, so I've been reading. That's what I've been doing, guys. I've been reading. I've been working, reading, being a mom, the life. But I love making these videos for you guys, and I can't wait for February's book wrap-up video. So I will talk to you guys in that next video, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and